Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds, I'm Nerdarchy Dave, and today I'm joined by this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted, how are you doing this fine and lovely evening, sir?
Good, man. It is nice to be here. We missed last week because you were out gallivanting, globetrotting, and traveling from conventions and faraway places.
I wouldn't, say gallivanting or faraway places. It was not
The
too,
far, far off land of Cincinnati.
which I found out in order to get to the Cincinnati airport, you actually land not in Ohio, but in Kentucky.
Yeah.
I found it out, when I'm leaving the Cincinnati airport and it's like, oh, we're crossing state lines into Ohio.
Oh, that is weird. It is the actual Cincinnati airport in Kentucky.
Yes.
That's some BS there.
I,
Well,
I, I,
that's like the Giants, right? They play in New Jersey, but they're
right.
the Giants. Some hokiness. So we'll be talking about gifts, and we were all given a little bit of gift I would say last Friday, with the OGL being kind of restored, but even better than that, a lot of the stuff has been put into Creative Commons. And my understanding is that's actually better than an OGL, and
Right.
also you can't undo that once
Right.
once that cat's out of the bag, is there's no going back in.
Indeed. So that's I think it's going to make a lot of people, happy and, assuage a number of fears that have been out there. And hopefully we can find some, homeostasis in
Yeah.
this new world with all of the chaos that's been happening over the last few weeks.
So we actually shot two OGL videos. Weren't quite happy with the first one.
Hmm.
Then we reshot it, and then the very next day, the announcement came out that they were not changing the OGL, and that they would be um making a Creative Commons. So yeah, we probably fixed the OGL by shooting that video. You're welcome.
Yeah, it's possible, but it's entirely,
Yeah.
on us. But I wouldn't say a huge possibility.
It's just fate conspiring against us.
Yeah.
So
So I don't even
we're
know what that means for like those that video. Like, is it just
yeah.
Ash? Like, do we have to scrap that entirely? Because like,
I think we're going to put it out because we put some work into it. We're having it edited, and what we're going to do is we're going to put it like a disclaimer that like, hey, this was shot just before
right,
everything changed, and it really is our chance to give our opinions and kind of speak out on what we felt about the whole situation, and also we didn't go into specifics in that video because we know, and we explained it in the video, is like we just don't put out timely videos when it comes to that stuff. So if we, going into specifics is pointless because it changed several times, and we knew by the time it went up there was a good possibility it would change again. And
right.
lo and behold, like either that day or the next day it did. So,
Yeah, I was pretty
uh,
sure it was the next day after we filmed, but I had
yeah,
seen people talking about it.
yeah, and we also have some related content that's coming out soon that isn't specifically about the OGL, but the OGL kind of inspired it, and I think it's good to put it out anyway, because I think we need to keep Wizards of the Coast on their toes, and also keep stoking that fire in order to keep moving things along in the wrong direction, not the wrong, in the right direction.
Correct. Yeah. Let's hope we're not sending things to go in the wrong direction.
Yeah, yeah. Jay Harmless. It is shitty and it does suck. Um, and you know what? Like, we did touch on Pathfinder this time around, but I think in the initial video we did, just because it got really long.
Hmm.
And like, here's the thing, right? It's not like we're unaware of Pathfinder. Like
Right.
we're very much aware of both iterations. We haven't liked. It's not that we don't like them. It's just not.
That's not the game for us.
Yeah, it's just not our thing. Like I've played a few sessions of 2E Pathfinder, and like I'll have fun playing whatever game with whatever people, right? Like a lot
Hmm.
of times for me, it has more to do with the friends that I'm playing with than it does the system per se.
I would agree
But
with that.
but like when I look at a game and I go, do I want to run this? Pathfinder is kind of a hard no for me. I just have very little interest in it, and I ran third edition for a very long time, so it's not like
Right.
it's not like, oh, this system's so daunting to me. It's just like it feels like a regression in my gaming that I don't wish to go back to.
And while I applaud, certain things that Pathfinder 2, is doing, and for those people that are there for it, I'm, by all means, I'm not going to tell you not to play that game. Play whatever game you feel is for you. But the fact that they were like codifying all the aspects of the background,
Uh,
they feel like that is a further step away from where D&D is going, because I enjoy the fact I'm like, oh, I want to play an interesting archetype. So like right now I've got a character idea that I want to play that is a sage ranger. And there's reasons for that particular thing. But like if you were to take that into the Pathfinder sense, oh well, if you take Sage, that's going to give you a bonus to your intelligence. So if you're not looking to go with an intelligence build, don't pick this background. I like the fact that it affects your skills but not your stats, so that you can still
yeah.
a specked out, character, but still make an interesting choice.
What are you talking about, Jay Harmless? Ted's face always looks like that.
So yeah, we kind of fiddle and fooled around to try and fix whatever's going on with the camera. Um, but Zoom updated just before, or Zoom updated as I went to log in,
Yeah,
figure out what it's not, certainly not the camera. We tried multiple cameras, it didn't work. We tried restarting, it didn't work. It's like, well, rather than not do another week in a row, we'll just unfortunately have to apologize for the weird look.
yeah, yeah. Well, some of the things too, like with Paizo and Pathfinder, is like one, Paizo makes really gorgeous books. Like they put out a fantastic product, right? Like, they look gorgeous. They're they look really good. Um, Everyone tells me they write the best adventures, but like we don't run pre-written adventures, so it really wouldn't really matter to us that much.
Right. I mean,
Yeah,
you could take that stuff and uh, pull out the mechanics and run those adventures. Uh, Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, he translated Heart of the Night Fang Spire for season 4 of Dawnbringers, which was a 4th edition module. And obviously we played 5th, so it was one of those things where it's like, okay, it's certainly possible to just change out the rules. And
yeah,
for another fantasy game, it's easy enough to do the mechanics and just wing it if need be, or just kind of like take the time to crunch it all out and figure out exactly what you want to do ahead of time, depending upon the style of GM that you're doing.
Now, I will say one thing is like, as a community, we took action, we took collective action, and we
Mm-hmm.
got a corporation to change course and basically do what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're still going to leave D&D and you don't want to support that company anymore, that's completely up to you. But just remember, the next time you want to do something like that is going to be less effective, because if you're if instead of rewarding the company for doing what you want, you just punish them instead, there's no
Mm-hmm.
reason for them to change course in the future, especially if we teach them that there's no reason.
Right.
So either you wanted open D&D or you didn't. It is kind of my thoughts. I don't think there's really a lot of room in between there. Um, Again, everyone's going to have to make a decision for themselves what they want to do, how they feel about it. We've been playing D&D a long time. We'll continue to play D&D. The only decision for us was going to be, were we going to continue to support, Hasbro, going forward or not, depending on what they did. But we probably would still keep our 5e games going, that we're not streaming, that we're just playing with our friends. We already bought the books, we already have the books. There's no reason to throw them away. That doesn't that certainly wouldn't hurt Hasbro. It just hurts us, right? Because it's our
Right.
stuff we be trashing. But with that, we got some videos coming out in next week, in the coming weeks. You guys can check out where we kind of weigh in what we were thinking about during the whole kerfluffle and the process. There's just a couple things that I wanted to throw out there now. I don't know if you have anything you felt like you needed to say or wanted to say, Ted, before we kind of
Now,
move on.
I mean, we can move on from the OGL, and kind of like we did the first time. Like we talked about it for about 10 minutes, and then we'll move on to, the other uh the other things that are out there.
Yeah, so D&D idea gifts, not to be confused with the moving pictures, but something you give, and this is actually my favorite way of giving magic items and boons in games.
So, I mean, I think the thing to start off first is like a gift can very well be something like at the table, something in the game, and it can be something in the game that's tangible or intangible.
All I would say, all that is correct. I mean,
Uh,
our last game, you just handed out some gifts.
I did. I mean, it was certainly not anything, large or dramatic, but the people that I game in person with is something that I felt like I wanted to do a little something for, especially because for most of those groups, like they travel literally to my table. So like I have the least amount of, you know, like I don't have any travel costs. I don't have, any of the things that the other players have. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do a little something. And I did a similar thing last year. Well, this particular group that we met with last night, we didn't meet in November because of some conflict. We had taken December off because that's what we do, with that group. So it was like, all right, I haven't seen these people since before Halloween. So it was a little weird, but like, all right, hey, it's the end of January. Have some Christmas gifts,
Happy
holiday
holidays.
gifts, whatever it is you want to, refer to
Happy
them
holidays,
as.
you filthy animals. Definitely, Ted was very generous and kind, and gave us all dice and little dice, Christmas themed dice bags. And then our other group too, like Ted does this with all the groups, and because we have a bunch of different groups. And then one of the other players in one of the other groups, he usually does stuff as well. The one year he gave us all tactical K-bar sporks,
Mhm.
and the next year we got the matching pen to go with it. So I was really looking forward to see what K-bar product would come next. And he's like, I don't think there's any. He's like, he didn't go that route. He's like, I don't think there was anything left.
Yeah. And I don't expect, anything in return. It's just something for those who choose to get in on it, by all means. And those that don't, well, no big deal.
Was
Um,
it the end of Scott Garabay's game, the first game we played with him, that he gave out medals?
yeah, we actually have there were like two or three medals that I actually have from Scott's games. The one game that he ran over in Philly, he gave out a medal for that one, and then the one game he did here, he wound up doing similar. And there might be a third, or I might wind up somehow having a duplicate of one. I don't, I
Yeah.
don't, but it was just something as like a little keepsake, a little memento, and like those kind of things are cool. And I was actually slightly inspired by that, um, where I actually, when I went to D&D in a castle, and this past September, I actually made little, a little trinket, a little thing to kind of take with, and it was a nod to the actual game that was going on. So like I was running my Betrayal at House on the Hill game. There was a whole key themed adventure, what have you. It was the House of the Forgotten Past, and their symbol was like a key with an eye. So I actually bought keys and little eyes and had them affixed, and then made like a like a necklace out of it. And then I presented that to all of the players. So like, most of the people wore the necklace throughout the whole thing. So like when like you go to your meal and everybody's gathered,
Yeah.
they're wearing, this little thing. Like the tables usually sat together anyway, because like,
You spend so much time together, you're familiar
yeah,
with those people.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're building camaraderie and what have you. Like, it's all cool, but like that was like an extra layer of like, oh well, if you're not in Ted's game, you don't got one of these things. So
I
I thought that was kind of cool.
yeah, I think Scott also did. I think he had his daughter make a piece of art for everyone and did like a comic book or something for one of the
Oh
games.
wow.
So you would have received it too. It was one of the games we played with. I mean, it's going back a few years, but
Right.
like he was always good for that. Like at the end of the campaign, he would do something creative like that.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
I don't know if that was the end of the Shadowrun campaign or not. Is what I'm thinking, but I'm not sure. Jay
Yeah,
Harms heard Ted has knocked multiple people out in medieval simulation combat. He's very good with the sword, and can you confirm or deny? So, Nerdarchy Ted is a master of the German longsword, and he has slayed many pinkies that he's done
hey,
of
index
opponents
fingers,
he's done
damn it.
battle with.
Index fingers, damn it.
He just breaks pinkies and snaps them off left and right like they're nothing.
I've had several injuries. It
Uh-huh.
was one night from uh, a little over eagerness and a couple people who should have known better and didn't
They
block.
should have known better than to step in the ring with Nerdarchy Ted. That's what they should have known.
I, I have not gone and picked up or done any training since July, when karma has reared its ugly head, and my finger in turn.
He was ambushed by like a dozen ninjas, and they only went after his pinky.
Again, index finger.
Pinky Slayer sounds so much better than Index Finger Slayer.
I can't argue that point. I do enjoy sword work, and I hope to at some point in time return to my study group and what have you. I just don't know. They wound up changing the day, and I still haven't fully recovered. My fingers doesn't have full mobility yet, and the one like the actual top joint doesn't move the way it's supposed to. So I'm doing exercise and stuff, right? Probably not as much as I should, but I don't know.
You're just gonna have to start doing finger push-ups.
Finger push-ups,
yeah. We need a Rocky montage for you training your finger.
Well, I've done the chasing of the chicken, but no finger push-ups.
Yeah. When did you chase the chicken?
There's a farm that we visited. The place who has the goats that we've.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, you can come over here. We got chickens running around all the time. My neighbors have chickens, and they just get out and end up in my yard all the time. My dog loves them.
Sounds like delivery to me.
Maybe. They hang out outside the front window, and my cats and the dog are like, "Oh my god, there's chickens! I want those chickens." It's like a gift for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible.
I don't think I would trust the cats with the chickens. The dog just wants to play. She loves animals.
The cats want to play too, but their play style is a little bit
It involves chicken entrails.
we have cats here, and we talk all the time about the other pets that we've had, and that you can't let the cats get near them because we've had mice and we do have guinea pigs, and it's like it's like, oh, we just want to play, and it's like, yeah, well, when you play they don't move anymore. It's like, yeah, they just got tired.
We just need another one.
Eternally tired.
I mean, we got the same deal with chinchillas, but my money's on the chinchillas. Those guys are jerks.
My daughter's fuzzy.
Any of the other animals.
My daughter's fuzzy potatoes know how to fight each other, but I don't think they're going to be able to do anything to the the moving felines with claws.
It's only one way to find out. I've seen hamster armor. You can even
Hamster armor?
yeah, or guinea pig armor. I'm pretty sure I've seen armored guinea pigs someplace. Google
Wow.
it. It's a thing. It's out there.
Uh,
There's a dude. I think he makes it. I think he's got an Etsy shop. He makes armor for cats and dogs.
wow.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet looking.
I might need to look that up just for shiggles.
I bet if you look it up, you'll actually find that there is actually multiple people that do
Mhm.
that. So, but I'm pretty sure I've seen someone on TikTok, and that's what they do. They make armor for cats and dogs. Definitely cats, maybe dogs. I don't know.
So,
Cats are ridiculous as is. I don't think they need any help. They're
no,
just natural born killers.
absolutely. So when you look at the aspect of, gifts in the game, we had in your Under the Dome game, we recently kind of did one of those things that you were talking about, where like we had done a multi-session arc where we were basically saving an NPC, who was kidnapped by some, bloody blahs, and his reward was to basically give us like these, really powerful items. Some of them I question like where he might have gotten them, because like, all right, the people who use weapons, sure.
Yeah.
Um, you know, the dude who owns a battle school, sure, he's got access to that kind of stuff. But for the gift for myself and Ryan's character, it's like, all right, you run a school for combat. What are you doing with a master tool and a magician's wand?
Hey man, he's got resources.
Sure. I'm not complaining. I'm just curious. Like, so
Beards and battle axes entered the chat. Those are things I like.
beards and battle axes. Good evening.
Yeah, just don't use one on the other.
Yeah, I mean, you might really mess up your battle axe if on
You use your beard on it.
it. He thought I was
But
going to go the way.
yeah, do you guys ever put the guinea pigs in balls?
No, because I'm told those things are actually like torture devices for the animals.
Oh, really? We have giant balls for the
Yeah,
chinchillas.
I know, like,
They used to just
I just
ram the dog, or not this dog, but the last dog we had. They would just ram the dog over and over again with them.
I don't know for sure. I just that's what the I'm told the research says.
Yeah,
And
it's not the exercise we think it is.
yeah, I mean it could very well be, but from what I'm told, that's what it is. And
Uh,
don't quote me on it. I just I don't argue with the females that want to do their thing.
that's wise.
So
So yeah, you got them in the game. Like I feel like throughout most of the campaigns that I've run at some point or another. Usually, magic items instead of just in that case, I actually gave out magic items, but a lot of times I'll just have like something you guys already have get imbued with power or
mhm.
magic and upgraded that way. So it's like your thing, and it just gets better.
I like doing that as well. And sometimes it's like it's a gift from the GM, not so much a gift from an NPC. But the ability to actually have the item that's already the thing that you prefer get better takes away the frustrations of, oh well, I put a battle axe in there and you prefer to use a longsword, or like my character in the Dawnbringers, who like his preferred fighting style was Warhammer and Warpick.
Yeah,
While Jake is an awesome GM, he's had like 8 or 9 different PCs throughout the course of that whole adventure, and trying to manage an off weapon for one of said characters. Like, I never found another, magic off weapon. I just, I switched my +1 Warhammer that I had as a starting adventurer at 5th level to my offhand and just held onto my war pick.
I'll just hang it over my mantle when I get home.
So it's like, all right, it's it is what it is. And again, no issues or complaints. I loved Jake's game and his style. But that's something that's it's out there. You know.
Yeah, I mean it's always an issue when you have like a weird or exotic weapon you use.
Hmm.
It's like I fight with a spiked chain. Wow, it's really cool. Good luck ever finding a magic one of those.
Which is where the idea of, the gift of, and it can be straight up, oh, well, someone passes along knowledge of a magic one or a legend one, that exists out in the world and it hasn't been seen in some time, and it could become a whole quest thing. Or somebody who has the ability to put magic into something, is like, all right, well, since you have this thing, let me go ahead and view it. uh, and then it becomes, all right, it's yours and now it's better and what have you.
That was kind of one of the cool things about well, I guess it started in third edition. I think artificers could suck the magic out of stuff
Hmm.
and then make it put it in something else, right? And make
Hmm.
use it for their they actually had I think they had an XP pool they got to spend to build their magic items. But then in fourth edition, you could actually make magic cocaine by reducing your magic items to the residuum, which is just the
Hmm.
magical substance, and then you can use it to infuse something else
Right.
with the magic.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Residuum, and I'm very sad that they haven't really discussed it for fifth. Uh,
Yeah, it kind of died with fourth edition. I mean, I feel like in the Under the Dome game brought back a little bit with
the
with the
grind,
grind,
right?
which is similar. We use it, but instead of infusing things with magic, we use it to power some of the more industrial lies parts of the campaign setting and world.
Yeah, and I love that concept, even though like from the player perspective, it's this intangible thing. Like we don't even have, oh, well, this is how much it costs to, this, that, or the other
Yeah,
thing.
I
Eh?
feel I think I put a cost to it someplace.
Well, it's possible,
Yeah.
and I have not seen it or have completely forgotten about it if I did see it.
Either that or it's more like of a Morpheus thing, like you need to spend X amount of gold a month to keep your ride going
Yeah,
and
and like
grind.
that part doesn't matter. Like, it's as long as we're making coin, we're keeping our rides going, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I don't think I really talked about it, but so we use black powder weapons in that game, and you know I actually in my mind have replaced black powder with grind,
mhm.
and I don't know that I've ever vocalized it or written it down anywhere, but I just I'm working on the assumption anytime someone's using black powder weapons, pistols or rifles or whatever, it is actually being powered by grind instead.
Sure, it makes complete and utter sense. Given the setting. Now I think the character who is a spelljammer, like he could potentially have something that runs on black powder, but then once he's out of his stuff, then it's like, all right, well now what do I do? And they would have to like replace. So like there could have been a transition time frame for lie. But other than that, like it's just fairly standard.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, what are some of the more memorable moments in your games where gifts have come up?
So stepping away from like our table,
Yeah,
we again, Dawnbringers is a I will put out there, if you don't follow MTD but you did watch the Dawnbringers games, I will say that game is retired. We sadly are not getting into the finale. um but we had met a character that was the Lady Vantage. And I always forget which one it is, but she was like an ancient brass dragon or bronze dragon. I want to say bronze. Um, but she wound up being like interconnected with our story. And she kind of like helped set us on our way through I think at the end of season 3 into season 4, I want to say. And she wound up gifting us, all of these like great magic items. So like my weapon, which is called Forge Fane, which was essentially like a powered up dwarven thrower, which in that in and of itself is awesome. A warhammer that you can, chuck out to 60 feet and come back to you, yay, great.
Well,
But
also, the Dwarven Thrower does a little bit more than that too.
okay, well, I haven't played since November, so I don't
Okay.
have that magic item memorized. But he
Poser.
he got a really cool warhammer. Like the entire party got like all of these, really souped up things that were tailored, from it. And I don't know whether she like had them all in her hoard or what. She didn't really get into detail, but it was like each character kind of got this scene where she approached them and was like presented this thing to be able to allow us to complete our task, because we had some heavy shit ahead of us. So it was a lot of fun to go through that. You and I have been gaming together for decades, so like there are a lot of those kind of moments. um but I think like that one is the one that stands out the most to me, because like it was a big thing being presented, a gift of a magic item and a
Yeah.
powerful by a dragon. So that was really cool.
So you guys had did a favor for the Clockwork King
Mm-hmm.
in my campaign. Well, not really a favor, but basically his son had been corrupted by Vargarian
Yeah.
Vargarian magic and Vargarian artifice, and he wanted you guys to either save him or put him down.
Yep.
And
And we put him down, unfortunately.
you guys ended up putting him down, and he each gave you like a little clockwork snowflake.
Mm-hmm.
That I let you guys decide what to do with it, and then depending on what you decided to do with it, kind of determined what the boon did for each of you.
Mm-hmm.
Like so that was one thing that was kind of fun. Um, it was fun in that same campaign when Bloodfang got knighted by the Dragon Emperor, and
Absolutely.
and his great sword got plunged into a this fiery basin and became a flame tongue, which
As well
also like he
as
had added a snowflake to it, so it actually did like 2d6 fire, 2d6 of cold, and
nah,
then
it was 2 die 6 fire, a die 6 of cold, plus the 2 die 6 for the weapon, plus his ridiculous, abilities, because he was like, an obnoxious, like, wasn't he a battle master?
no, he was a champion,
He
so
was just a champion.
he was a champion.
He
He
was
tended to crit a lot, and
he was ridiculous.
yeah. Well, you guys. So another instance was you guys had done. Guys had done a trial for the Owen guy
Oh,
because
you're gonna bring up the gift that I didn't get. Yeah,
yeah,
good.
the evil goat powers. So the Owen guy or orc tribe that kind of lives side by side with dire goats or giant goats and use them as mounts and shear them and goat's milk and all that good stuff. Uh, but you guys had a magic item that you wanted to find someone to buy, and I think it was like for a druid or something. And you're
Yeah,
like,
it was Staff of the Woodlands.
yeah, you're like, what are
We
we gonna do
we
with this?
you wanted to use a druid, and you I don't remember the specifics, but you're like, all right, I want to put in this encounter. And of course, the Gobelos decide to do something funky, and they decide that they're going to get a bunch of animals high. And
Well, yeah, I had planned an encounter with an evil druid because you guys were going to be in the forest.
right.
But then the gobblers were scouting this manor that was in the forest, and they got bored, and so they started capturing small woodland creatures, getting them high, and throwing them over the wall. So I was like, I didn't even need an evil druid. I just needed a regular druid to
Right.
attack the party
So
with.
so like we come up on the scene and this druid is like attacking our companions. So it's like, oh, they must be evil. We'll deal with them. And we wind up with a staff of the woodlands, which is completely useless to anyone who's not
Never
a
wrote it.
so it was like, all right, well, what are we gonna do? So we wind up, trekking out into the woods and finding the Ullen guy, and they didn't have magic items to offer back in exchange. So they're like, oh well, you can take part in this ritual, and
Well, no, what it was they wouldn't even deal with you unless you did this, unless you went on the spirit quest.
oh, is that? I apologize. I guess walking away slightly jaded because I failed. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
did
And
not
so
remember all the details.
several of the parts. So the final part of the test, they had to get by and overcome a giant gorgon, but it was shaped like a goat instead,
Mm-hmm.
and it petrified several of the players. And those players, well, they didn't stay petrified and die. They did not receive the blessing of the Olin guy from the spirit quest. Which so I feel like either like a half of the party or two
Just
thirds of
two.
the party.
Just two.
God,
It was Todd. It was Todd and myself, Torg the Bard and Relian the Cleric.
yeah. So two thirds. There was like six of these, right? Something like that. So and for that they were gifted. I think they each got like a stat bump.
It was a feat equivalent, however you chose to do it. You could take a feat, you could take a stat bump. Um, and I don't remember whether it was something that where you were allowing it to go above
It
20.
was. It raised your maximum to 20. If you took the stat bump, it raised your maximum to 22.
Because that was Bloodfang's thing. Wherever he could get higher strength, he was doing it.
Yeah. So he just did ridiculous amounts of damage.
Yup.
Um.
So what about you? Was there any gifts that you've gotten as a player that you feel kind of stood out?
So actually, it's not so much that I got a gift, but it actually came up in one of your games, your first 5e game you
Mm-hmm.
ran. Was I forget the holiday, but you had created a holiday in game where people exchange gifts, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Then I'm gonna make like my character's a blacksmith, so he's gonna make little figurines for the whole party and gift them to them. And then you had them all come alive and try and murder everybody. So you totally perverted my gift and turned it into a monkey's paw.
Well, I mean, sometimes that needs to happen. I mean, the idea is you gotta, players have got to be on their toes, right?
They do. So James Harmless, did anyone gift you guys magical cocaine as a gift? Thoughts on drugs in D&D? So I guess it really depends on how you mean that, right? So generally there are no drugs at our tables when we're playing, uh, that I know of. I don't think so. There's some individuals that may have showed up high over, but I'm not entirely sure. We didn't see them partake. Um, Occasionally there's drinking, but very rarely, and it's usually toned down. But in the games itself, so in the Under the Dome game being the most recent, um, grind certain constructs would basically consume grind as a drug, and they could become junkies. So that's definitely a problem in Under the Dome. Um, and then you know the Gobelos were based off of Juggalos, and I believe they were always pretty much high. So in the game or drinking. Matter of fact, like the concept for their characters were they were on a quest to find the Fey Glow, uh, and they eventually did find a chalice that could create Faglo for them.
Indeed.
That was interesting. So there was a lot of drugs in that. Scarlet Sisterhood. I feel like Halfling Pipeweed came up a lot. Not
I think
no,
I
not
think
only did it come up a lot, they also got an ogre hooked on it.
there was I believe in that game that was like it was kind of like the all right, this is our reward for, completing, a section of the story or whatever. It was like, all right, we're gonna go relax and pull out the pipe weed. It wasn't something that was like, oh, middle adventure, like what happened to Gobelos.
Yeah, yeah, they were a bit more responsible in their
Right.
partaking. And I don't believe it was all of the Kenna definitely, and then also they turned the one ogre into a junkie for pot. Then in my kids game, they always referred to good berries as weed berries. That was mainly your nephew,
I know.
not my son, the other one.
Yep. Yep. I'm well aware. We've heard the story. We've talked about it off air. Uh
So I'm trying to think. Was there any other? Oh, we had the Myconid Tavern in the Underdark,
oh yeah.
uh, where they would have different elixirs that they could add their spores to, and they would have different effects. So yeah, drugs. I would say drugs have come up in our games.
So me personally, I don't tend to do a lot with it. Um, but I feel like Dave has got far more experience, with that at the table. So like
And it's not me. Like I'm not the one usually doing it. It's usually the players. Like I did the Mike and it thing just because I thought the players would dig that, and it was
sure.
that group. But it's usually the players. And then like in the one Underdark game we ran that we streamed, um, the Outcast game because that was the name of
Hmm.
our main Underdark city. Ryan's
Hmm.
paladin he played a paladin of the Beggar King who was basically perpetually always drunk. He was basically a drunk. He was basically a hobo with a shotgun.
I mean, sometimes that's what you have to do, right?
JR, do you guys ever talk about why the circle of Nerdarchy grew smaller over time? Did Ted scare off members of Nerdarchy with his mastery of the German longsword? You're making assumptions that they're still around someplace. My days are probably numbered. There can only be one.
Uh, so I mean, we've talked about this, here and there, but I mean, if you haven't, paid complete attention over the years, Nate has bounced in and out. Nate the Nerdarch. He is still around. In fact, my son was hanging out with his sons just yesterday. Um, but he just didn't really feel that he had the time to put into Nerdarchy versus what he felt he was getting out of it. And Ryan left because he felt, he did what he wanted to do with Nerdarchy and he wanted to go in another direction.
Essentially, Nerdarchy takes up a lot of time and effort,
Oh yeah.
and um, we're still working at it to make it successful. And running a YouTube channel and doing any of this stuff is a lot of time and effort and hard work. And I guess me and Ted are just stubborn, the most stubborn of our lot, and we just refuse to throw in the towel. Nerdarchy over the years has had ups and downs. We've done some years we've done fairly well financially, other years not so much. We are in a slight decline now, but we're calling it restructuring of the company.
So I guess we've well past the halfway point. So I will kind of on that note, there's a couple things going on. Number one, this live chat is powered and sponsored by Easy Roller Dice. So jump down to the description below and you can grab a hold of that link and that coupon code. Get yourself some awesome Easy Roller Dice. And I'll call this out, even though I can't guarantee if it's in the description below. But D&D in a Castle is in July, And while we talked about it, that my table being sold out, somebody had a schedule conflict. So I've got one seat open and Dave's only got two left. So if you want to come game with us at a castle in England, you can head on over to D&D in a Castle and go sign up for one of our games.
Yeah, who knows what we're going to be running. I'm still waiting until the table fills out a bit, and then we'll figure out what the game is going to be. What people want to play in my Under the Dome setting, we can do that, or something else. I've teased the a War of the Mark from Eberron would be a lot of
Oh,
fun.
nice.
Um, you know, me, I don't care. I like to do weird stuff and not run generic D&D.
Mm.
And I think at the castle that's my plan. Let's see what the players want to do.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I've got, several different ideas. I had in fact done an article talking about like a how to train your dragon, do like a wyvern riding, style game. Um, you know, but I got a whole laundry list of things that I could possibly do. But I'm like, all right, how is this going to work? So
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so it sounds like Dark Beholder did hit D&D in Castle. It is expensive, not gonna lie. The only reason we're able to do D&D in a Castle is because we're the GMs. Although Ted was actually going to, that's not entirely true. Like I went the very first time they did it as a guest player, which they gave me a discounted rate, but it still wasn't free. It was still pretty expensive. And then we were able to segue that into us having our own castle. And then last year Ted was there and he ran, but you actually wanted to be a player, but they changed how they were doing things.
yeah, so I had talked to them when I was there in September about like, hey, would it be possible for me to um uh what do you call it? Go in one week as a player and then, GM thereafter, or vice versa, like go in as a GM. So like, I was in talks with that, but they didn't do the back-to-back weeks, and that's the only way that I feel like I'd be able to do it.
Yeah, because then you could like fold in the cost of the flight
So,
into being there.
right, right,
Yeah, because last year they ran a bunch of rounds, and I think this year they pulled back a little bit
right.
because they weren't able to fill out all the GM spots. And because they went like they like quadrupled the number of tables they did, if not more, from the previous time that they did it.
Although if you look at the list of people that are going to be there the same week as us, like that, it's going to be massive. There's
Well,
going to
I
be.
think the way they changed is they're like adding more tables as they fill tables,
Mhm.
and instead of doing separate weekends, they're packing more into the existing rounds,
Yep.
which it probably makes more sense, from a logistics standpoint.
Hmm.
Ah, Dark and Beholder. So you had a different. You've been on here before with a different username, and where it was actually Nick in it. It's Dark Beholder is our Nick.
Yes,
So yes, we definitely remember you. It was great getting to hang out with you in 2019.
indeed. 2019 was an awesome castle. Despite the number of hiccups that wound up happening, it was still a fantastic experience.
Well, I guess there was only really how many hiccups are you counting? I only thought there was really one.
So I mean, there was the hiccups with scheduling. There was the hiccups with the castle needing to be flipped at the last minute. There was a hiccups with swag. I mean, there was a number of things that were going on.
Yeah, I get. Oh yeah, they were waiting for stuff to come in. Stuff went to the other castle. They couldn't get it from the other. That's true. That
Hmm.
stuff didn't affect me, so it wasn't a
Sure,
hiccup.
right, but I mean, like
Yeah,
that affects the
everything.
people who
Yeah,
are
yeah.
there. So, like, I have to look at the whole package. I mean, it's not a big deal. But when I was there in September, it was a seamless engine, except for one little hiccup of my alarm not going off one day.
Oh no, they had to go find you.
I don't know what it was. I guess it was like the second day
Uh,
of like where I'm supposed to be running. and my session was supposed to start, I think, at 9 a.m. And at 9:30, I was still in bed. Um, and they come knocking on my door. My alarm, I don't know whether I didn't turn it on, whether I somehow turned it off in my sleep. All of my players were like incredibly like gracious and
Yeah.
understanding. I felt so bad that I'm like
you,
like
you bastard.
I I had to like quick get up,
Yeah.
do a a quick clean. They
Yeah.
brought breakfast to the gaming room, and I'm trying to game and eat breakfast at the same time.
Well, that's good because I know Ted when he's hungry. You know, you won't like Ted when he's hungry.
Yeah, I can be a jerk. I don't like being hungry, which is why I tend
Yeah.
to bring snacks when I go places to.
Yeah. Oh, Dark Beholder brought up so because they had to switch the castles at the last moment, and it's also during the season when I think prom is
Hmm.
over in the UK, and like apparently all their proms they just have them at castles, which is so much better than what they do here. Um, there was one night that was overbooked, and we had to go to Durham and spent the night there, and we went and hung out at the tavern there. But actually, like that, I guess that was kind of a hiccup, but it was also a lot of fun because we all spent like a lot of time playing board games and hanging out. Like we were at the bar playing board
Hmm.
games until we left there, and then we're like in the middle of the night, up until the wee hours of the night playing games back at the
It,
hotel.
it almost felt that like that was not even a hiccup to me. That was like an added experience because when I was there in 2022, it was all just castle time. There was
Yeah,
no let's sit and go see what some of England is. And for myself who hadn't really done any world travel beyond D&D in a castle, like this was my first real experience of you know not my first, but one of my only experiences of like going to another country and seeing things.
dude. When I was in France, like the castle was in the middle of nowheres. Um, is there something wrong with Ted's camera? Really? Are you sure? I think it's just how Ted looks. Now we talked about a little bit before we started. There's a technical hiccup on his end, and we have no idea what it was, and we didn't discover it until a few minutes before going live. So,
Yeah, so I apologize.
for your convenience, we're from time to time blurring out Ted's face. But yeah, so like when in France, like it was in the middle of nowheres, and the only thing that was there was just like little tiny village. You just look out, and it's like a one street like town.
Wow.
Not even a town, but yeah. At
I,
least
I
like
feel
I was just gonna say, at least like you when I walked out of the castle, um, at Lumley, and like you had a like huge park that was like right there that we
it's a
went and
golf
explored
course.
that day. Well, there was a golf course, but there was also like an actual park.
All I know is that there's a lot of like cool trails and stuff to walk behind the castle.
And you're
Uh,
not allowed to mess with the geese because the queen owned the geese, but
hmm.
maybe not anymore.
Well, like, and when we were there in 2019, like Doug and I went for like an hour long walk out in the woods. Um, just kind of like exploring and seeing some of the natural flowers and whatnot. And like when I was there back in September, I'm like, all right, let me kind of revisit some of these trails and just try to spend some time outside while
Yeah,
weather was nice and whatnot. So, and definitely some cool grounds and cool things to go do.
yeah. I mean, it's a lot of fun. Castle Day was fun. We got to skeet shoot crossbows and archery and falconry. Like I
Yeah, they
still
did.
use the falconry photos that they took for a lot of different things on social media because
Mhm.
they're so cool. And also like the difference between us taking pictures and having like a high end professional photographer take them, like
Oh yeah, it's
huge.
miles better.
Yeah, well, it's not even like that. Who's just a professional photographer. I think I think he's also super high end too.
Right.
which was super cool. So yeah, and also everybody looks cooler when they have a bird of prey on their arm. Uh, so did you when you went to the castle last time? Did you bring your sword?
No, I mean, I'm not gonna try and travel with a sword from through international travels.
I'm pretty sure you can.
Well,
Actually, this discussion came up in one of the discords because we have we have like a YouTuber retreat coming up that we're doing. And someone was talking about archery. Like, apparently, it was much harder to bring your archery stuff than it was to bring your sword stuff.
wow.
So, yeah, you just
Well,
can't. I just don't think you just might not be able to take it as carry
well, it's not gonna fit in my suitcase. So I don't know how I like. My like. Oh, check the bag. Here's a sword.
on. Yeah, yeah. That's what you do. Like, hey, I might have to fight evil while I'm over there. What do you want from me? You know, a prince or princess might need saving, so you know you gotta
Well, I
save
mean,
them.
that's always a possibility. I mean, you're going to a castle. There could be a princess worth saving,
Yeah, or prince, as the case may be.
or prince, depending upon what you want to do. But
All right, here we go. Ted's gonna leave the prince hanging, but I will save a prince or princess. I don't care. That's because that's what heroes do, Ted.
that's what heroes do. Sure.
Yeah. Plus, you know, it'd be so much cooler to dungeon master with your sword on your back. So this way, if a player gets out of line, you just whack them with the flat on the blade.
Yes, because that's exactly the experience they're looking to pay for.
It is. It is. How much did you spend? Whack. Yeah, it instantly stops all rules lawyering.
Wow. Yep. I am all.
Just a thought, man. I'm just trying to help you out.
Sure, man. Why not? Let's put that, into consideration for July.
Yeah. Figure out how to get the sword. Now I want to bring a sword. So we got to play well, we've kind of been off topic, but going further off topic, we finally got to play Shadow of the Demon Lord again, which we haven't
Yeah.
played since like September.
Mm-hmm.
Game's been slightly on hiatus.
Well, I mean, there was, a couple
We only meet once a month anyway, and
right.
then we missed a month. We took December off. In October, we played a different game.
Yep. Their liability insurance sorting.
You know,
Uh,
why don't you let Nerdarchy in your castles anymore? Because they attack the guests with swords. Listen, it could be a selling point.
it could be a selling point.
Yeah.
Defend yourself, knave.
Yeah, at any given moment, Nerdarchy could leap out of a dark corner with a sword at you. Like, you don't get more authentic than that.
Should I bring the armor as well?
Oh, maybe. Well, I mean, you want to protect yourself. Besides, it's no fun to get stabbed back.
That is true. That is true.
Be the stabby, not the stab. Be the stabber, not the stabby. So
Yes.
yeah, so we played Shadow of the Demon Lord, and that game's a lot of fun. I feel like a couple of us almost died, mainly me, and also I feel like I was the greatest threat of the evening. Yes. Well, so there was a monster that had this like chaos effect, and you know one of the best lines of the night was from the GM, and they're just like, "You can do anything you want on your turn. It just can't be helpful." So, like that is like the worst kind of instructions to give me as a player because I can be a little chaotic.
Just a little bit.
You know, Ted's like, "I will put on a fancy hat," and I'm like, "I will set everything on fire except for the enemy." And I'm also going to jump. I'm also going to jump to maybe my death. It worked out all right.
Yeah, in the end, it was all great.
What paths do you got there, Ted? Jay
What was
Harmless
that?
wants to know. Jay Harmless wants to know your paths.
My pants?
Not your pants, your paths. Never mind. I'll start. So I went with I'm playing an orc, warrior, ranger,
Path.
brute.
So I have a changeling, magician, spider savant, conjurer.
Yeah, there's lots of spiders in this game. My
Uh,
first character was a clockwork warrior. He didn't get to pick any other. He didn't get to pick any other paths. Also, I'm not sure if I
you had
actually got to pick the warrior path.
he had his head ripped off by a werepossum.
Yeah, freaking were possums. No joke. No joke. Don't mess with the were. Although we did cross paths the were possum later, and we could have went after, but I think the rest of the party was kind of scared of the were possum.
Well, I mean, it killed
After the...
two of our companions.
we were
I'm like,
significantly stronger.
sure, but once it's already killed some things, do you really feel the need to,
Yeah.
push those boundaries?
JB, I feel like you're discriminating and calling out our kilt wearing friends. Pants can totally be optional.
Sure. Um, it's there. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I had gone magician. I was planning to go to witch, and I asked the DM, I'm like, hey, is there some way of getting a familiar? And he's like, oh, what do you think? And I'm like, well, I wanted to get a spider. He's like, oh, I've got the perfect thing for you. And there was a whole path about getting a spider. There was in like some like offshoot PDF thing that has like several different paths in it. I'm like, this is fantastic. And of course, the week that I reveal this is what I'm doing, one of the players is like, "Oh yeah, I really don't like spiders." I'm like,
Yeah.
so like the fact that we're not bringing real spiders to the table, is a major selling point. But like I can't get graphic on my spider descriptions because it might bother the player.
So Sukul is your spider companion,
Yes,
and he is the real MVP. Ted's changeling keeps trying to claim credit for Sukul, but we don't acknowledge. Is it Sack or Hack? I always forget.
hack.
We don't acknowledge Hack at all when it comes to this. We give full credit to Sukul, because we decided to. Was it when we were fighting the bugs that we had the contest?
Maybe I think so.
Yeah, there was a bunch of mean, kind of like monstrous ants that were trying to kill the dwarves and us. So we decided to make a competition out of it, and Sukul handily won the competition. John, what are you talking about? Ted's face it always looks like that.
I mean,
So we are a couple minutes after, and it's that time. Hopefully, the next time you see us, we will have Ted's face resolved, or at least his camera anyway, and we'll get over those technical difficulties. The next 2 weeks we are taking Tuesdays off from our live stream game. 1 week off. 1 week will be our session 0 that is not filmed. If you haven't watched the Vast Grim mini series, it's up on the channel. There's a playlist for it. There's actually 4 episodes, even though 3 of them are all back to back and kind of extension of that first one shot. So you can check that out. We'll be back here on Friday talking to. So I'm not sure who I'm going to have on the live chat Friday. We'll see. And you will be back next Sunday with the live chat, and hopefully by then we'll have Ted's camera figured out.
yep, indeed.
So until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.